For the first time in 7 long years, the possibility of Prince Harry and Meghan Sussex stepping foot in Australia again has ignited a wildfire of global attention. What started as nothing more than a heartfelt letter of appreciation has now escalated into a full-scale media storm, complete with frantic commentators, suspicious royal analysts, panicked critics, and a world eager to know what this could mean. This is not just a story, it's a saga, one loaded with nostalgia, tension, political undertones, and decades-old royal fractures. And it all started with a message sent to, wait for it, an astrologer. In late October, Australian-based astrologer Angela Pearl received a letter from Harry and Meghan Sussex. Pearl is widely known across the internet, especially in Australia, where her predictions attract millions of views. She's not a royal insider. She's not a political figure. She's not an event organizer. She's simply a spiritual guide with a global following. And yet, it was her who became the unlikely centre of a global royal headline. The letter thanked her for her energy and insight. Nice, warm, sweet, nothing that would shake the world. Until one sentence changed everything. We look forward to staying in touch, especially as we look to visit Australia again. A single sentence, 13 words, and boom, the internet exploded. Suddenly, every outlet, from mainstream news to gossip sites to royal YouTube channels, seized onto the story like a lifeline. Social media analysts began theorizing. Pundits started debating. Critics, many who haven't recovered from 2018, leapt up like they'd been waiting, always waiting, for another Sussex headline to sink their claws into. Meanwhile, supporters of Harry and Meghan Sussex reacted with excitement. Australia reacted with curiosity. And the palace-focused media reacted with pure panic. Why? Because Australia is not just another country on the map for Harry and Meghan Sussex. It's the place where some of their most iconic royal moments were born. Their 2018 Australian tour was one of the biggest and most successful royal events of the decade. The couple drew massive crowds, from Sydney to Dubbo to Melbourne. People waited for hours just to catch a glimpse. They generated goodwill, connection, and charm in a way rarely seen from royals in the modern era. They weren't stiff public symbols back then. They were relatable, warm, vibrant, electric. Meghan Sussex was newly pregnant, glowing, charismatic. Harry was joyful and engaged. The crowds adored them. Even the press, yes, even the tabloid press, couldn't help but acknowledge the impact they were making. And that's exactly what critics fear today. Because if the Sussexes return to Australia and receive even half the warmth they did in 2018, it would send a message the royal establishment doesn't want. That despite years of attacks, smears, misinformation, and constant media targeting, Harry and Meghan Sussex still draw global love, still attract attention, still matter. But back to the present. Let's talk about that letter. Why would Harry and Meghan Sussex mention an Australia visit in such a casual, almost intimate context? Why drop a hint in a letter to an astrologer rather than in a formal press announcement? It's simple. Because this wasn't meant to be a publicity stunt. It wasn't part of a PR rollout. It wasn't an attempt at shock and awe. It was a human moment, a personal sentiment expressed without the rigid framework of institution, public expectation, or royal protocol. And ironically, that's what made it explode even more. The media is used to controlling the narrative around Harry and Meghan Sussex. They're used to twisting every public statement, controlling every headline, dictating every talking point. But this letter leaked in its pure, unvarnished form, a genuine expression not filtered through palace advisors or PR handlers. And that terrifies the people who profit from scripting the Sussexes' every move. Let's unpack what this could realistically mean. First, no official trip has been scheduled, yet. But the wording "looking to visit" suggests conversations, planning, or at least intention. It suggests that Harry and Meghan Sussex want to reconnect with Australia, a place where they felt warmly embraced. And I'll tell you this, Australia is not the UK. It does not carry the same baggage, bitterness, or toxic tabloid culture that drove the Sussexes out in the first place. Australia is more open, more relaxed, more balanced in how it treats public figures. Across the country, many still remember the joy that defined the 2018 tour. Now imagine, just imagine, what a return would look like. Crowds lining the Opera House steps again, cameras flashing, children waving little flags, media helicopters trailing overhead, reporters shouting questions, fans cheering their names, the return of the Sussex spark that captivated the world. But also imagine the panic in certain British circles. For years, certain commentators have tried to paint Harry and Meghan Sussex as irrelevant, unpopular, and destroyed by public disapproval. A successful Australia visit destroys that narrative instantly. A warm reception in Sydney or Melbourne would prove that the couple's global appeal didn't vanish. It simply moved, and it's bigger than ever. This is why commentators instantly began scrambling to throw negativity on the idea. Some called it a publicity ploy. Others claimed it was in poor taste. A few even accused the astrologer of manufacturing drama. Anytime Harry and Meghan Sussex do something positive or harmless, the critics find a way to twist it into controversy. But notice this: the excitement from the public has been far louder than the criticism. People want to see them again. People want their story to move forward, not stay trapped in outdated narratives. But let's zoom into Australia specifically. If the Sussexes return, they wouldn't just be revisiting old memories. They'd be entering a nation that has changed politically, socially, and culturally since 2018. Australia is reassessing its relationship with the monarchy. It's redefining national identity. And the arrival of two high-profile, independent-minded royals could feed directly into ongoing conversations about modern leadership, representation, and identity. This is the part the British establishment would rather you not think about. Because Harry and Meghan Sussex no longer represent the monarchy. They represent something far more unpredictable: public influence, cultural power, independent voices, the ability to draw headlines without wearing crowns or standing on palace balconies. And their return to Australia would highlight that power in a bold, undeniable way. Now let's turn to the personal side. Imagine Archie and Lilibet, the children of Harry and Meghan Sussex, experiencing Australia for the first time. Imagine them meeting Australian wildlife, seeing the beaches, learning about the culture that welcomed their parents so warmly. The Sussex family has been growing quietly and privately in California, shielded from the toxicity of the UK tabloids. A family-centred, carefully planned trip to Australia could become one of their defining public moments. Supporters are already ecstatic at the idea. Social media is buzzing with Australians saying, "We'd love to have them back." Others are already speculating about what events they might attend or what charities they might support. Some even hope for a return of the Invictus Games Down Under. But remember, none of this was announced formally. It's all coming from a private letter. And that's the genius of this story. The Sussexes didn't make an announcement. They didn't issue a press release. They didn't call attention to themselves. A small, natural expression of a desire to revisit a beloved country accidentally triggered global headlines. And why? Because the world still cares. Because the Sussexes remain a cultural force. Because their presence still commands interest, relevance, and emotion. This is the part critics can't accept. And it's the part that drives them mad. They want Harry and Meghan Sussex to disappear quietly. They want the narrative to freeze at their lowest moments. They want a world where every move the Sussexes make is either dismissed or mocked. But reality keeps proving them wrong. A letter. Not even a speech, an interview, or a documentary. Just a simple letter. And the world can't stop talking about it. So what happens next? If the Sussexes do decide to make a formal announcement, if they state definitively that they plan to visit Australia, prepare for another global media explosion. Prepare for discussions about security, schedules, public interest, political impact, and logistics. Prepare for excitement from fans and bitterness from critics. Prepare for every newspaper in the world to blast the news across their front pages. But also prepare for something else. A moment where Harry and Meghan Sussex reclaim a place that once embraced them fully, warmly, and without reservation. A place not shadowed by palace politics or British media vendettas. A place where the story feels lighter, happier, and more hopeful. Because that's what Australia represents for them. A memory worth revisiting, a connection worth renewing, and a chapter worth reopening. And if that moment does happen, it won't just be a visit. It will be a statement, a reminder, a resurgence. The Sussexes are not fading. They are evolving, travelling, growing, and still capable of capturing the world's attention with nothing more than a line written on paper. So whether you're a supporter, a critic, a royal watcher, or simply someone who loves a good comeback story, get ready. The next chapter of Harry and Meghan Sussex's journey might be unfolding in Australia. And if this letter is any indication, it's going to be loud, dramatic, and unforgettable.